ways the people around us can help improve our lives.
There are a lot of ways that people around us help us improve our lives.
Don't bump into every neighbor, so a lot of wisdom never gets passed on.
Don't bump into every neighbor. We don't bump into every neighbor, so a lot of wisdom never gets passed on.
But we do share the same public spaces.
But we do share the same public spaces.
So over the past few years, I've tried ways to share more with my neighbors in public space.
So over the past few years, I've tried ways to share more with my neighbors in public space.
Using simple tools like stickers, stencils, and chalk.
Using simple tools like the stickers, the stencils, and chalk.
And these projects came from questions I had, like...
And this project came from questions I had.
How much are my neighbors paying for their apartments?
How much my neighbors are paying for their apartment.
How can we lend and borrow more things without knocking on each other's doors at a bad time?
How much we can lend and borrow more things without knocking on the doors at a bad time.
How can we share more of our memories of our abandoned buildings?
How can you share more of our more memories of our abandoned buildings
And gain a better understanding of our landscape?
and gain a better understanding of our landscape?
And how can we share more of our hopes
And how can you share more of our hopes
for our vacant storefronts so our communities can reflect
for our vacant storefronts so our communities can
our
reflect
needs and dreams
dreams
today?
today?
Now, I live in New Orleans, and I am in love with New Orleans. My soul is always soothed by the giant live oak trees.
I live in New Orleans and I'm in love with New Orleans. My soul is always soothed by the giant live oak tree.
Shading lovers, drunks, and dreamers for hundreds of years.
Shading lovers, drunks, and dreamers for hundreds of years.
And I trust a city that always makes way for music.
I trust the city that always makes way for music. I trust the city that always makes way for music.
I feel like every time someone sneezes, New Orleans has a parade.
I feel like every time what?
The city has some of the most beautiful architecture in the world.
I feel like every time someone sneezes, New Orleans has a parade. Sneezes?
World, but it also has one of the highest amounts of abandoned properties
Here
music. I feel like every time and dreamers for hundreds of years, and I trust a city that always makes way for music. I feel like every time someone sneezes, New Orleans has a parade.
Every time someone sneezes, New Orleans had a praise. When you sneeze, and all of a sudden just liquid suddenly come out of your nose. What? Every time, I feel like every time someone sneezes,
The city has some of the most beautiful architecture in the world, but
the city has one of the most beautiful architecture in the world.
it also has one of the highest amounts of abandoned properties in America.
But also has the highest amount of abandoned property in America. Has one of the highest amounts of abandoned property in America.
I live near this house, and I thought about how I could make it a nicer space for my neighborhood.
I live in this house, and I thought about how to make this place a nice place for our neighborhood. I live near this house, And I thought about how I could make it a nicer place for my neighborhood.
And I also thought about something that changed my life forever.
And I also thought about something that changed my life forever.
In 2009, I lost someone I loved very much.
In 2009, I lost someone I loved very much.
Her name was Joan, and she was a mother to me.
Her name was
And her death was
Joan, and she was a mother to me.
sudden and unexpected.
And her death was sudden and unexpected.
And I thought about death a lot. And this made me feel deep gratitude for the time I've had.
I thought about that a lot, and this made me feel deep gratitude for the time I had.
And brought clarity to the things that are meaningful to my life now.
And brought clarity to the things that are meaningful to my life now.
But I struggle to maintain this perspective in my daily life.
But I struggle to maintain this perspective in my daily life.
I feel like it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and forget what really matters to you.
I thought it's easy to get caught in day to day and forget what's meaningful to us. I feel like it's easy to get caught up in the day to day and forget what really matters to you.
So with help from old and new friends, I turned the side of this abandoned house.
So with help from all the new friends, I turned the side of the abandoned house into
a giant chalkboard. And stenciled it with the fill-in-the-blank sentence.
Stencil. Draw pen. Stencil.
Before I die, I want to. So anyone walking by can pick up a piece of chalk.
So anyone walking by can pick up a piece of chalk,
reflect on their lives, and
reflect on their life,
share their personal aspirations in public space.
And share their personal aspirations in public space.
I didn't know what to expect from this experiment. But by the next day, the wall was entirely filled out.
But by the next day, the wall was entirely filled out.
And it kept growing.
And
I'd like to share a few things that people wrote on this wall. Before I die, I want to be tried for piracy.
Before I die, I want to be tried for piracy.
Before I die, I want to straddle the international date line.
Before I die, I want to straddle the international date line. Straddle. Sit or stand with your legs on either side. Sit or stand. Pull on the helmet and straddle the motorbike. Straddle. Okay. International date line. Straddle the international date line. halfway around the world from the prime meridian, or about 180 east of Greenwich, London. The reference point to the time zone is known as the line of demarcation. International dateline. International dateline. Straddle.
Before I die, I want to sing for millions.
Before I die, I want to sing for millions.
Before I die, I want to plant a tree.
Before I die, I want to plant a tree.
Before I die, I want to live off the grid.
Live off the grid? Live off the grid? Live off the grid? Off the grid can refer to living in a self-sufficient manner without reliance on or public utility. Live off the grid.
Before I die, I want to hold her one more time. Before I die, I want to be someone's cavalry.
Cavalry. Soldiers in army who fight in tanks. And so's cavalry.
Before I die, I want to be completely myself. So this neglected space became a constructive one, and
this neglected space became a constructive one. Very useful, constructive one.
And people's hopes and dreams made me laugh out loud, tear up.
And people's hopes and dreams made me laugh out loud and tear up.
And they consoled me during my own tough times.
And they consoled me during my own tough times.
It's about knowing you're not alone. It's about understanding our neighbors in new and enlightening ways.
It's about knowing you're not alone. It's about understanding our neighbors in new and enlightening ways.
It's about making space for reflection and contemplation and remembering what really matters most to us as we grow and change.
It's about making space for reflection and contemplation and remembering what really matters most to us, as we grow and change.
I made this last year and started receiving hundreds of messages from passionate people who wanted to make a wall with their community.
I made this last year and started receiving hundreds of messages from passionate people who wanted to make a wall with their community.
So my Civic Center colleagues and I made a toolkit, and now walls have been made in countries around the world.
Now walls have been made in countries around the world.
Including Kazakhstan, South Africa, Australia, Argentina, and beyond. Together we've shown how powerful our public spaces can be if
Together we've shown how powerful a public space can be.
we're given the opportunity to have a voice and share more with one another.
If you're given the opportunity to have more voice and share more with others, have a voice, have a say.
Two of the most valuable things we have are time and our relationships with other people.
Our time and our relationship with other people.
In our age of increasing distractions, It's more important than ever to find ways to maintain perspective and remember that life is brief and tender.
In our age of increasing distractions, it's more important than ever. It's more important than ever to find ways to maintain perspective, and remember that life is brief and tender, brief and tender, brief and tender.
Death is something that we're often discouraged to talk about or even think.
That is something that we are often discouraged to talk about.
But I've realized that preparing for death is one of the most empowering things you can do.
Preparing for death is one of the most empowering things you can do.
Thinking about death clarifies your life.
Thinking about death clarifies your life.
Our shared spaces can better reflect what matters to us as individuals.
Our shared space can better reflect what matters to us, and
as a community.
As individuals and as community.
And with more ways to share our hopes.
And with more ways to share our hopes.
Fears and stories. The people around us can not only help us make better places.
The people around us can not only help us make better places.
They can help us lead better lives. Thank you.
It's time.